Okay, good morning, students. So today we are continuing with the last unit, with the first unit, and that is barriers to communication. We were dealing with barriers, and we have already seen three types of barriers, which are those: physical barriers, mechanical barriers, and language barriers. Today we are going to continue with psychological barriers and cross-cultural barriers. You are able to see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we are continuing with psychological barriers. So the first psychological barrier is status block. Now, what do you mean by status block? People have superior or inferior social status, and accordingly, they have their fixed notions. So here is an example. A salesman of a tea manufacturing company tells his manager that their sale is going down because the rival company is adding aroma to its tea. But the manager ignored him, saying bad carpenters should not blame their tools. However, when sale falls down all over the country, 14 months later, the company hires the external consultants who, after doing extensive field research and charging huge amount of fees, suggest the same solution, that is adding aroma to the tea. So the salesman has told the same thing 14 months ago, but it was ignored because of the status block. The manager thinks that he is superior to the salesman, and as a result, salesman should not tell him any type of should not tell him what to do. The salesman should not give him any type of advice. So it is that status block. Is it clear to all?
Yes, ma'am.
The second one is resistance to change. We don't want to change. So here is another case study. All of you know this particular symbol, Nokia. Once upon a time, it was a leading mobile manufacturing company. And then what happened with Nokia? At the turn of 20th century, Nokia was leading mobile manufacturing company in the world, connecting people. However, between 2007 and 2015, Nokia became the most spectacular business failure, thanks to its inability to respond to the changing industry circumstances. During late 1980s and early 1990s, Nokia had developed professional, no-nonsense, and closed organizational culture with bureaucratic organizational form. It had the rational mindset and superior technological competence within the mobile phone sector. As a result, Nokia became the market leader. However, the game changed in 2007 when Apple and Google, the two computer giants, entered the telecommunication sector. Focus shifted to software and applications. Nokia's risk aversion and closed organizational culture could not adapt to the growing need for new innovations through open and cooperative working style. As Nokia could not abandon its integral outmoded habits and structures, it soon vanished from the market. So this is the case study of Nokia. For which particular purpose? Resistance to change. Is it clear to all?
Yes, ma'am.
The third psychological barrier is different perceptions. Now see this particular picture. It is the same picture, but you can see two pictures in it. One is the vase The other one is two faces. Can you see both? Depending on your perception, either you see the vase or you see two faces. Now, again, two pictures in the same photograph. It is either rabbit or this is the beak. Can you see a bird?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And this side, these are the ears. And this is a rabbit. So the same picture, depending on your perception, you see two different things. Now here, this is the nose of an old lady. Can you see the old lady?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And these are the eyes. And this is the chin of a young girl who is looking at the other side. Can you see the young girl?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It is the same picture. But depending on your perception, you can see two opposite things. So it depends on your perception. Then the next one is allness and closed mind. See, you can see the closed mind over here. You don't want to listen to anything. Why? Because you think that you know everything. A closed mind is a tortured mind. You cannot possibly be at peace if you are constantly judging and fighting everyone around you. You feel that you know everything. There is nobody in the world who knows better than you. The attitude of those who are unaware that they are abstracting and thus assume that what they say and know is absolute, definitive, complete, certain, all inclusive, positive, final, and all there is, or at least all there is, that is important or relevant to say or know about the subject. They feel that though they know everything. This is the definition of allness and closed mind. It is given by Henny W.V. in the book Communication and Interpersonal Relations. So I repeat, definition of allness and closed mind: the attitude of those who are unaware that they are abstracting and thus assume that what they say or know is absolute, definitive, complete, certain, all inclusive, positive, final, and all there is, or at least there is, that is important or relevant to say or know about the subject. This is the definition. Please note it down. Okay, so allness, it is acting as if what I am saying, writing, or thinking includes all that is important about the subject. Then, second point is unawareness of abstraction. Abstraction, I have limited details due to my nervous system. You cannot see everything at a time. You cannot pay attention to everything that is happening in front of you at the same time. Now, if you see at this particular slide, you have to focus somewhere. Either you will focus on this particular picture, or you will focus on this particular box. Then you will focus on this particular definition. Then you come to this particular box. Even though everything is in front of your mind, in front of your eyes, you cannot see everything at one go. You have to change your focus. And this changing of focus is the psychological process of abstraction. Because you are seeing all these parts one by one, you feel that you are seeing everything at one go, but that is not true. First, you saw this particular picture, then this box, then this definition, then you are coming to this particular box. When everything is there on this particular slide, frankly speaking, you don't see anything at all. You can see a very little part of the slide at one go. You keep on shifting your focus. And when you are focusing, say, on this particular box, all these things, they are in the background. So abstracting different details, I assume that what I know is what you know. Maybe I'm looking at this particular box and you are looking at this particular box. Both things are in front of our eyes, but our focus is different. So abstracting different details. You are focusing at one point and I'm focusing at another point. Then evaluating a group. I unconsciously assume that my experience with one or a few members holds for all. It means whatever I feel is the same thing that others are also feeling. Whatever I experience is the same experience that the others are also going through, which is not true. And the last point, close to new or different. I assume that my way is the correct way. I'm not ready to look at the situation from a different angle. Okay, so there are 5 stages, or what you can say, there are 4 points under allness and closed mind. Unawareness of abstraction, abstracting different details, evaluating a group, and close to new or different. So this particular point is clear to all. Because I feel that I
Yes.
know everything, I'm not ready to accept a different perception. First, there are different perceptions, and then there is allness and closed mind. Should I change the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Next, you have halo and horn effect. Now, you can see 2 pictures over here. This is devil with horn, and this is angel with halo. So you have different perceptions. You feel that one particular person is good and the other person is bad. So halo and horn effect is a cognitive bias that causes you to allow one trait, either good, that is halo, or bad, that is horns, to overshadow other traits, behaviors, actions, or beliefs. In psychology, horns effects and halo effects happen all the time. Attractive people are on average though to be more are thought to be more intelligent, even though this isn't true. Overweight people are thought to be lazy, which is not necessarily the case. So, 2 examples are given. Attractive people are also assumed to be intelligent, which is not true. And overweight, fat people are assumed to be lazy, which is again not true. Is it clear? Halo and horn effect. Is there any technical problem?
No, ma'am.
This point is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Next is inattentiveness. Now, all of you know this particular film.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is that?
तारे जमीन पर.
Tare zameen pe, very good. Now this boy, he's not paying any attention to the studies. He's imagining different things, and his attention is divided. That is known as, what is known as inattentiveness. You are
Yes,
paying
ma'am.
attention to something else, and you are not paying attention to whatever is being taught to you. That is inattentiveness. Next, emotions. Now here again, you will see the case study. This is a story from Panchatantra. Now, what happens in the story? Once upon a time, there lived a farmer and his wife. They had a newborn son. The farmer's wife wanted to have a pet animal to protect the child, which would also be a companion to the child. They debated and decided upon a mungus. So they brought a mungus and started rearing it. A couple of months later, one day, the farmer and his wife wanted to go out of the house, leaving the child at home. The farmer thought that the mungus would take care of the child while they were away. So they left the mungus and the child at home and went out. The farmer's wife returned earlier and on returning home found that the mouth of the mungus was stained with blood, and she immediately inferred that the mungus had killed the child. In anger, she threw a box on the mungus and the mungus was hurt badly. She then rushed inside to see what happened to the child. She was surprised to find a dead snake lying in the room. She could infer that the mungus had saved the child's life by killing the snake. Realizing the mistake, she went out of the room only to find the mungus dead on the floor. She cried out loud at her hasty action. Now, which is the predominant emotion over here? The wife feels first fear for the child, and then second, anger at the mungus. Without knowing the reality, she infer means what? It is a type of abstraction. You feel, she feels that the mungus has killed the child, when in fact the mungus had killed the snake. But did she know the reality? No. Did she wanted to wait to know the reality? No. She took a hasty decision out of her emotions. Is it clear to all?
Yes, ma'am.
Then next is slanting. Now what is slanting? Again, you have a story over here. ये हिंदी में story है. I'm not reading out the entire story. Basically, there is a peacock and the peacock is not able to dance. So the peacock keeps on giving the excuses that I cannot dance now because there is one problem. I cannot dance now because there is another problem. So he keeps on giving the excuses. Ultimately, he says that the land is uneven, आंगन टेढ़ा है, इसलिए मैं नाच नहीं सकता. रियलिटी में क्या होता है? रियलिटी में वो जो मोर है वो नाच ही नहीं सकता, और क्योंकि वो नाच नहीं सकता है वो अलग अलग बातें बताते रहता है. पहले बोलता है कि होली आएगी तब नाचूंगा, फिर बोलता है कि और कुछ चीजें रहेगी, बारिश आएगी तभी मैं नाचूंगा, फिर बोलता है कि जो आंगन है वो टेढ़ा है इसलिए मैं नाच नहीं सकता. तो इसको कहते हैं स्लांटिंग. What I can say, you blame something else for the fault that lies in yourself. नाच ना आए आंगन टेढ़ा. It is known as slanting. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what are the solutions to the psychological barriers? First, avoid being egoistic. Don't feel that you know everything in the world. Then avoid is bad, or the other way around. You feel that the other person is bad, but that bad person turns out to be good. So you should not judge the other people. Then avoid being selective in attitude and behavior. You should be all inclusive. You should have all inclusive attitude. Accept everything. Have the open mind. Avoid being rigid. Participative management. You should invite other people to give their suggestions. And then you require cordial employer-employee relations. When other people and especially your subordinates will come forward to give the suggestions, when you have the open mind. And as a result, you need to have open door policy. What is open door policy? The subordinates should be able to come and meet you whenever they want it to do. Please note down these points. Avoid being egoistic. Avoid being judgmental. Avoid being selective in attitude and behavior. Avoid being rigid. These 4 points are at the individual level, and at the organizational level, you require participative management, cordial employer-employee relations, and finally, open door policy. Points are noted?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Should I change the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So now we come to the last one, that is cross-cultural barriers. Now, see this picture. How do I get to the other side? You are on the other side. Can you see the different perceptions? Now here, we are not talking about two people. We are talking about two cultures. The two people belong to two different cultures. And then it is called cross-cultural barriers. So the first one is views of time. So how the time orientation differs from culture to culture. It is a cultural or national preference towards past, present, or future thinking. The time orientation of a culture affects how it values time and the extent to which it believes it can control time. For example, America is future-oriented. It is run by the clock, fastest paced to achieve the American dream. France is present-oriented. So what they do, they enjoy the moment. India or China, they are past-oriented. So they have relaxed attitude towards time. With thousands of years of history behind them, they have such a long point of view that time at a scale of minutes or even hours becomes insignificant and inconsequential. Note down these examples. America, future-oriented. France, present-oriented. India and China, past-oriented. In India, people will always keep on talking about the glorious history. America has very insignificant history, just 200 years. They are more interested in the future. They are futuristic. And France, people are happy-go-lucky. They are present-oriented. They live in the moment, enjoy the present moment. Don't think about the past. Don't think about the future. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Second point is views of space. Space orientation. We have already seen the proxemics. You can see this. Proxemics. Who has given proxemics? 4 zones. Who is the person? Edward Hall. So, you have contact cultures, South European, Latin American, and Arabian, engaged in more touching and stood closer during conversation. You have non-contact cultures, Northern Europe, North America, and parts of Asia. Standoffish preference for large bubble of personal space around one's body, whether you like to be touched or you don't like to be touched. So you can see contact cultures and non-contact cultures. Argentina is most touchy-feely nation. Should I change the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
These points you are noting down.
Yes, ma'am.
Argentina, most touchy-feely nation. These type of points will be there for your objective questions.
Okay, ma'am.
Contact cultures, which are the contact cultures? Non-contact cultures. Then, dress and behavior. You can see the national dress code of different countries. You can see Saudi Arabia over here, Egypt, Qatar, India, Bhutan, Brunei. So every nation has a different dress code. Have a look at all the countries. Should I change the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Then next, decision making. How decision making differs from culture to culture. Now you can see the picture over here. What if we don't change at all and something magical just happens? So Western culture has analytical thinking. Analytical, it comes from the word analysis, problem solving. And Eastern culture has holistic approach. They just don't focus only on thinking, they also focus on feeling as well. So in America, you have individuals who can challenge the authority. In Germany, individuals are prepared to take responsibility for the choices they make. In Sweden, consensual decision by all takes a very long time. In US, individualism is seen. In Sweden, on the other hand, you find that the collective decision is important. So everybody has to agree. In China, which is mostly conservative, where you have Confucianism, teaches that individuals should maintain their place in the hierarchy to avoid chaos. So people are conservative, they don't challenge the authority. Arabs, they are risk averse and hierarchical. Please note down these points. They can be asked for objective questions. Should I change the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Then we come to ethnocentrism. Sorry, just a minute. Ethnocentrism, it is a belief that one's culture is superior to all other cultures. It leads to racism, stereotyping, prejudice, discrimination, or xenophobia. Xenophobia, it is a fear of the other's culture. Then what you have is cultural relativism. Understanding a different culture in its own terms without being judgmental. Now, whatever we have seen at the individual level in psychological barriers, they are applicable at the collective level in cross-cultural barriers. And then you have in-group, out-group differentiation. In-group, out-group differentiation, a positive attitude, or what you can say is halo effect towards one's own ethnic or cultural group, that is in group, with a negative attitude, which you will call horn effect toward the other ethnic cultural group, that is the out group. Okay, so you can see a cartoon over here.
Yes, ma'am.
We are live we are live interviewing Richard Spencer, leader of white supremacists. Well, actually, we preferred pronouns are white identitarian or white nationalist. Stick with us after the commercial break. We shall continue our interview with the head of neo-Nazis. So you can see three different perceptions. One is white supremacist, second one is white nationalist, and the third one is neo-Nazi. Now, we come to the solutions to the cross-cultural barriers. First one, study the culture of the host country in advance. Learn the language of the host country and also tone and register for the specific situations. Study the history, religion, and politics of the host country. Be tolerant towards different modes of behavior. Please note down these points. Should I change the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
So here we finish with the barriers. Barriers to communication means any obstacle or difficulty that hinders the communication. There are physical barriers, mechanical barriers, language barriers, psychological barriers, and cross-cultural barriers. We have seen various examples of each type along with solutions to those barriers. Okay. So with this, we also finish with your unit number 1, that is theory of communication. I will just show you something. Can you see this particular window?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one is 6. This is your unit number 1. And with the second one, we start with unit number 2. Here you have concept of communication, then you have objectives of communication, then you have methods, then you have channels, then you have barriers. Now we will be doing mass communication in the next lecture. Can you see a pattern over here?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why I'm telling you? Because we have already done the methods of communication. In that, color, design, layout. You can see the layout. It is the same layout. You have a picture over here. You have the title and the name of the teacher. For concept of communication, you have one picture. For objectives, you have another. For methods, you have the picture of the methods. For channels, you have the picture of the channels. For barriers, you have the picture of the barriers, language barrier. And for mass communication, you have the picture of mass communication devices. Okay, then we will be doing mass communication devices in detail. So here, the slide layout will change. You have traditional folk media, print media, radio, cinema, television, and digital media. You can see the color scheme: blue, pink, green. This is purple, orange. This is another blue, another shade of blue. Here you have purple, brown, green, greenish, blue. This is a different blue, sky blue. This is another blue, and this is yellow. Now, why I'm telling you this is because when you are doing your presentation, you have to be specific why you are selecting a particular color scheme, that you should be able to explain. Okay, then on your group, I have posted some links. This particular presentation I will be doing in the next lecture. But to do this particular presentation, first you need to know 4 things. There are 4, what you can say, works of art. There are 4 videos I have shared with you. First one is Meghadoot.
Yes,
Meghadoot is a poem in Sanskrit by Kalidas. On the life of Kalidas, there is one Hindi play, which is Ashad Ka Ek Din, written by Mohan Rakesh. Then Shakespeare has written many plays. One of those plays is Romeo and Juliet. And on the life of Shakespeare, an imaginary film, a fictional film is shot, that is Shakespeare in Love. So in the next lecture, I will be doing the presentation Dark Clouds of Love. And for that, you need to know these 4 things. One is poem in Sanskrit. The other one is a play in Hindi. Then the third one is a play in English. And the fourth one is a film in English. So till the next lecture, you should be able, you should watch all these 4. Am I clear enough? Am I clear enough?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now our today's lecture is over.